Here with Anthony Gilich, eighth season as head coach, but 15th overall at Central Arizona, 2022 and 2019 national champs. Broke school record for wins with 59 this year, and I just read currently hold the best winning percentage in the history of Central Arizona. Is that right? 744 wins?
I think that no, not that many wins. I think that's the winning percentage. I
Winning
think.
percentage, yeah. So
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
just amazing to me. I mean, what you've been able to do there in a short amount of time. I know 15 years, you were there, but I mean, just have you had a chance to really think about that much? I mean, you're in rarefied air right now with two national championships.
it kind of it's sunk in a little bit the farther we've been removed from it. I mean, as it's happening, it's just kind of a blur, and like you're just I don't know, you're just so invested into the moment and each pitch and at bat and game and the prep and so like I don't think you can really appreciate it as it's happening as much as when you get to take a breath and sit back and go wow, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, but especially you win 2019, the year before COVID. So, it's just talk about that because you guys down in Arizona, similar to California, you guys dealt with a lot of things during COVID.
Yeah, it was hard. I'm actually really proud of the guys in the program because it could have went a couple different directions, and we won it in 2019, and then the COVID year happened in 20. And we were off to a good start, and I was a little worried that maybe that'll could derail us or the program or like just the momentum we had kind of built a little bit, and the one blessing of COVID. I mean, if you can call it any, but because we didn't get to work with our guys, and so in the 21 season, that fall we weren't allowed to. Our school wouldn't let us work with our guys. We didn't have any practices, so our guys played in leagues, and we had to go watch them and Zoom calls and stuff like that. So I mean, it was really tough. But really, what it did for us is it kind of cut out all the external stuff. And so all we were teaching were the basics. And so we actually got really good at the basics. And so instead of having, eight bunt defenses, we had like two, and just stuff like that. So it's like we kind of limited the mistakes because we didn't have as much to screw up, if that makes sense. And so and that kind of spilled over to this year. We just thought, man, it worked last year. Let's just get really good and clean and at the stuff that is really important. And so, but yeah, I was proud of the guys. I mean, 19 we won it. 20 was the COVID year. 21 we lost in the title game, and then 22 we won it. So we've been in the last three national championship games, and man, I'm proud as heck of those guys.
Similarities between all three of those teams, differences.
I think kind of the like the main character just of the program is tough kids that want to work. I mean, we're a little bit removed from the city, so there's not a lot of distractions from like just getting after it, school and baseball and weights and so they get those things done. Those things are important to them. We don't have frats and we don't have football teams and we don't have so it's like
Scottsdale. That's a
yeah.
wild area there in Phoenix and Scottsdale.
Yeah. So they just come and work, and so yeah, it's just I think the guys, just desire to work, helps. It makes it fun as a coach. I mean, you're surrounded by a bunch of kids that want to work and want your help and want extra ground balls and want to hit. So it's just it makes it fun as a coach for sure.
Is that in your first conversations with recruits? Like, hey, here's what we are. Like, obviously, the history of
Yeah.
the program is phenomenal, but here's the rest of it. Do you prep that in the recruiting process?
For sure, we try to be as honest as we can. We can't hide the location, and it's not a detriment to us. We think it's a benefit. Just like I said, I mean, let's be honest. If you're coming to junior college, those are the things that should be important to you. Like, I mean, if the frats and the football games, then you'd go to a big 4-year university. But if you're coming to a junior college, then shoot, let's find a place where you can get to work, where you're supported. You have some resources to get it done, and yeah, I mean, it's a 40-minute drive to Phoenix, a 50-minute drive to Tucson. So I mean, we're right in the middle, and so it's I don't know, it's just set up well for guys that want to work. And so yeah, in our recruiting process, that's a big piece of what we look for sure.
How are you splitting up duties between you and your assistants?
Yeah, so I have three assistant coaches that are unbelievable. I'm lucky to have those guys. They We have Coach Perez. He was the 2021 ABCA Assistant National Coach of the Year. He does great. He works with our hitters, he works with our infielders, and he's our recruiting coordinator. We have JoJo Howie, who coached in professional baseball, was the head coach at Everett Community College for 4 years, left that to come be our pitching coach, which was a pretty cool deal. And so he works with our pitchers. He does a great job. I mean, we broke a lot of school records this year with our pitching, and pitching's always kind of been our strength. So to break some school records here, that's saying something. And then Isaiah Overman, young coach, just starting out, came from Grand Canyon. He's working with our outfielders, and then I work with the catchers and run the offense, and then so as a whole, I mean, I want everyone to have value, and I want to empower those guys to work and to take some ownership over their areas, and I mean those three guys do an unbelievable job. I mean we wouldn't win it without those guys for sure.
Well, and been an assistant for as long as you were, you kind of understand the pros and cons of being an assistant, so it makes it a little bit easier for you to deal with those guys, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was an assistant here for 7 years. I was an assistant before that at a small liberal arts school for 4 years before that. And so yeah. So I mean, I know what it's like to be an assistant coach. I know what it's like to be a head coach, and then to be honest, there's pros and cons for both. I mean, it's an assistant coach, great. I mean, you work on like recruiting and coaching, recruiting. That's it. And as the head coach, you have some other paperwork that filters over your desk, and it's like, man, what the heck is this? But and so it's but yeah, I mean, those guys are, I mean, they work, and they're all about the program and the players, and that's rare. It's they put those two things first, the program and the players, and I think that's a big reason why we've had some success.
Did you know coming out of the fall that you guys were going to be pretty good?
I knew, and it's funny. Out of the three last teams that have made the championship game, I thought the 21 team was the best team, and they were the team that didn't win it. And we ran into a unbelievable arm from McLennan. I mean, he shoved it on us. I mean,
He shoved it on everybody.
It
Henderson, right?
We knew that.
Henderson,
Yeah,
right? He
Henderson
carried them to a national championship.
Yeah, we knew we had our work cut out. We saw him earlier in the tournament. We had done our research, and we were hoping it wouldn't match up the way it did, and it did. And we knew we were going to have our work cut out. I mean, that guy's unbelievable. And so, so that guy got us. That was probably our most talented team. This team was, like I said, I wasn't quite sure the identity of the team. We hit better than I thought, which because I didn't think we'd be a big home run team, which we ended up being, because I knew we didn't have a whole lot of team speed in particular this year. So that was a little bit of a concern for me. Like, oh man, how are we going to get to second base? We can't hit singles and steal it, but we can't really hit doubles either. We might be in trouble. And so, but it didn't turn out that way. We actually, Coach Perez did an unbelievable job working with our hitters, and we had a ton of home runs. Kiko Romero broke the school record for home runs with 25, and so we ended up being kind of a team that could hit a lot of extra base hits, and then the pitching was our strength.
Looked like your starting rotation and your bullpen were extremely strong.
Yeah. I mean, Wosner, Shane Spencer, Stites, Matt Wilkinson, we call him Tug. We had some really good guys, Tyson Heaton, and then Drew Summers coming out of the pen was, I mean, the game was over. Usually, when he got out there, the game was over.
Any guys coming out of the fall that you didn't expect to contribute that contributed this spring?
Yeah, we had a couple. Yeah, and we had one kid, Jalen Ray, who ended up being our leading hitter. And so he was on last year's team, on the 21 team, and he hit like one something. Now, he was from Australia, so because of travel restrictions during COVID, he couldn't come over. So he's kind of late to get to us, even though he's part of the program. And, and we started out in 2021, we started out 31-0. So like he showed up a little late. We were rolling. He was in a tough spot, and so, and he's a great kid. And so he just couldn't quite get any traction going in 2021. He had a great summer over the summer. And then, he was on fire. And it's funny because like at some point you're not on fire anymore. You're just good, and that's kind of what because I was like, man, he's hot. And it's like, man, maybe he's just good, and so he dominated in the fall, hit really well. And then, and then led our team in hitting in the spring. So like he was a guy like we thought could do that, but hadn't done it. And so, that's one guy. Another
Hey,
guy.
was it reps for him, or did he
Yep.
make an adjustment at all with his swing? It just was them getting more reps.
Getting more reps, consistent at reps,
Yeah.
because like in 2021, he'd get an at bat
Yeah.
every 2 weeks. And I mean, that's tough to do, and here, he was in the lineup. He just had a chance to get rolling. If he had an 0 for 4, he didn't have to look over his shoulder, whether he's in the lineup or not. He was going to be in there, and he just impacts the game in so many different ways. He can play all three outfield positions. He can play second base. He was a shortstop for the Australian national team. Can run a little bit, can bunt, high contact, good teammate. So it's just, I mean, he's a guy that, like, he's just a winning baseball player. He helps the culture of your team, and if you like to win, he's a good one to have on your team for sure.
You guys have had a pipeline with Australian kids for a while now, haven't you?
Yeah, it kind of started with Josh Spence,
Yeah.
who might be the best player to ever play here at Central Arizona. I mean, made the big leagues with the Padres, and went to Arizona State from here. And I mean, his numbers are like video game numbers, are unbelievable. And so, but we've had all three Spences, so Josh, Nick, and Liam. Liam went to Tennessee, and played shortstop there, and we had Liam Evans on this year's team, and Jalen Ray. So yeah, we've had a little bit of a run on Australian players, Jai Diebel a couple years ago, and so yeah, I mean they're great kids. They're hard nosed kids.
Yeah, I've coached one. He's great. He's still pitching in the Royals organization. So Mitch Ellis, he was phenomenal.
Yeah, they love to work, and that
Yes, they do.
talk with them because they got the accent, so it's just fun, and
And they're not afraid to call guys out either. Like that. That was the
yeah,
thing that I loved about Mitch, is that he would get after guys. He wasn't. He
yeah.
wasn't. He didn't get bristled up. Like, he didn't get offended, and he just would get after guys in a good way.
Yeah, they're tough kids,
Yeah.
and yeah, we got our pitcher. He's kind of pitching with an injury all year, and like a growing injury, and trying to battle through it a little bit, and Jalen just kind of, yeah, just a tough kid, just like you said, yeah, not afraid to, like, say, hey, that's not good enough, and this day and age, it's tough to have kids do that, because everybody's, I don't know, a little sensitive, and those kind of things. And so, for players to, like you said, call each other out in a good way, and more challenge each other.
Yeah.
I don't know. He gave it, and he also received it pretty well. If somebody challenged him, he received it well, and it motivated him, so it was good.
Is that working off video for you? Is that how that works? Man, you don't send somebody over to Australia, do you?
I wish I would take that.
Yes, I would.
I'll volunteer for that one. Yeah. So, no, I mean, we're fortunate being here in Arizona that, I mean, there's tournaments every weekend here in Arizona. And so not only do we get to see the Arizona kids, but we get to see all the out of state teams. So the California, Colorado, Midwest, all over. And then occasionally they have Australian and international teams coming over. And so that's where we saw Jalen and Liam, the two guys off this year's team. They're on, there was a world team that came over, and then a next gen Australian team that came over, and they played on there, and just kind of liked both those guys. And so, yeah, so I'm more fortunate in that with all the spring training, I mean, there's games going on at all times. I mean, every weekend,
And the
Thursday,
scholarship breakdown is much better for an international kid to go to junior college.
for sure. Yeah. It's like, for us, like, an international kid doesn't pay any more than a kid from Ohio.
Yeah.
So like we kind of have three levels of tuition. It's in-state, WUI, which is like the Western United States, and then everybody else. So it doesn't matter if you're international for us, or Florida, or South Carolina, or where. All those are kind of the same. And really, it's not too much more than the in-state rates either. So, our school does a good job of making it affordable for those kids.
A 59-13 record. You start out 14-1. I mean, solid numbers for all three phases of the game. I mean, 59 wins is a lot. It's a lot for anybody. I mean, I just reflect on that a little bit. 59 wins. I mean, did you have any struggles at all?
Yeah, it was hard. Yeah, I mean, hard. Like, all 59 were hard. And the 13 we lost were hard too. And so that's what we always tell our guys. It's not easy to win. It's just not. I mean, the other team's practicing too, and they have good players, and they care too. And so that's why when we win a game, we feel really good about it. And in Arizona, there's no teams you can, like, steamroll. Like, I mean, if you don't play well, you lose, and that's how it should be. And so I don't know, for us, it's just. Yeah, I mean, when you look back on it, 59 wins. Wow, that's a school record, and that's a lot of wins for anybody. But in the moment, you're just trying to win the game in front of you, so you're not really counting them up during the season or anything. You're just trying to advance and beat whoever you're playing. But yeah, I mean, the 59 wins, I'm proud of that. I mean, the history of the program speaks for itself well before I ever got here. And, to have that be the top mark, that's pretty special, because I mean, I know how many good teams they've had here since I've been here and definitely before I got here. So that be the top mark, that's pretty special. Yeah.
How are those conversations where you're trying to get guys to turn the page? I think as all of us as coaches wanted to get teams to turn the page, but how are those conversations with your guys? Like, hey, that game's over with, we're moving on to the next day.
Yeah, there's two things that we talk about. We talk about game 7. So we treat every game like it's game 7, every one. So you don't need to explain game 7 to anybody, right? Like everybody knows what game 7 is. You're just laying it on the line, pushing all your chips in. So we treat every game. So that way we never get snuck up on by maybe somebody we think we should beat or something like that. No, it's game 7. Anything can happen. We better bring it. And that includes our fall games, our inter squad games. Anytime that we're competing, it's game 7. So that's number one. And then number two, what we try to do with our guys is we talk about all the time is just win the week. And so if we win the week, we typically have 4 games a week. So if we win the week and go 3-1, we won the week. And you know what? When we come to playoff time, if we go 3-1, you know what happens? We advance. Yeah. And so it kind of takes the pressure off a loss, right? Like, okay, yeah, we dropped one, but let's just still try to win the week, and if you do that throughout the playoffs, you keep advancing to the next week. And so not only does it take the pressure off a loss, but it also, preps you for the postseason. So it's like, okay, hey, we've been winning the week all year. All we got to do right here against Yavapai or Coach Heath or whoever is win the week, or hey, we're in Grand Junction, let's just win the week. And if we do that, we're going to win a national championship. And so it's just, it's easier said than done. But I think, we try to prep those guys with some of that and verbiage and belief. And it's not lip service. It's really what we believe. Like, hey, if we go 3-1 on the week, that's all right. Like, we feel good about that. Like, we can live with that, so it just takes a little bit of the heat off of the game if we lose it. If we lose a game, those 13 games we lost, hey, we still have a chance to win the week, and let's go do that. We lost 1 week this year. We went 0-4 actually. 1 week we got swept by Coach Heath and we got swept by Pima back to back. And so that was our lull and our low, and we had to bounce back. And the next games we were playing Arizona Western, who at the time was like 50-5 or something, or 45-5 or something like that. And it was like, man, we gotta get back on it. And we were fortunate enough to sweep those guys, and then kind of rolled the rest of the way through the playoffs. But yeah, we had an 0-4 and lost the week, and I told the guys that's how quick it can go. If you have a bad week in the postseason, boom, we're turning our uniforms. That's it, it's over. So I don't know. I think that's those 2 ways: game 7 and then win the week. Those are two things that we, some verbiage that we use that, I don't know, takes a little bit of the pressure off the guys.
Did you change your prep at all? You go 0-4, which doesn't happen very often for you guys. Did you change your prep at all, or just kept rolling?
No, kind of kept rolling. I think it was I didn't want to panic. I didn't want to overhaul everything. Because we were still having a good year and we were doing everything. We were doing well. We got beat, and those 2 teams are good. Coach Heath is good and Pima's good, and so we just got beat, and I thought we played hard. So that wasn't the issue. I thought we actually. There's a couple miscues that we had. And so I think more just opened our eyes to hey, if we play clean baseball, we're going to win. And in those 4 games, we had some things that just got away from us. And it wasn't a lack of effort. It just, a little sloppy in some spots. And so we just encouraged the guys. I mean, that was our strength this year, just cleanly play, defense, base running, not walking guys, and that was our biggest strength. So we get back to that, we're going to be tough to beat. And so I think if anything, it just kind of opened our eyes to oh man, that can get away from you quick. So let's get back on and just tighten the screws a little bit.
Did you have to play much defense? You averaged 11 Ks per 9 innings. So, I mean, did you have to field the ball? That's a lot of outs by swing and miss.
Yeah, that helps. That helps the defense for sure, when you're punching guys out for sure. But I Coach Perez did a great job. Coach Overman did a good job with the outfielders. And so when balls were put in play, we didn't kick it around very often. We had a really good team fielding percentage. And so, like I said, I mean, for us this year, our strength, it wasn't we weren't built to win like 12-10. Like we just weren't. We were built to win like, you know, 4-2, which is what the score was in the national championship game. And those kind of games where it's just like, we're not going to give you any freebies. We're not going to have any pass balls. Trey Newman did an unbelievable job keeping balls off the backstop and blocking balls in the dirt. Our pitchers did a good job of limiting walks. Our defense did a good job of just handling the ball. We talk about that a lot in practice. Just handle the ball, and play catch. It's going to be the most important thing we do every day. And then on the offensive side, just not giving away outs on the bases. And so it doesn't really mean play conservative, just play smart. And so we worked on our base running a ton. And even though we didn't have team speed, we were pretty good at ball and dirt. We were pretty good at going first to third, corner to corner. Those kind of things that were going to like counteract the lack of maybe stolen bases we had. We had to kind of fill in the gap somewhere else. And so, yeah, you put it all together and you spit out a pretty clean brand of baseball. And we needed it. We needed it for sure.
Did you guys panic at all? You lose the first game to Crowder and see a phenomenal arm from Crowder. I mean, did you kind of know that's what it was going to be right out
Yeah,
of
he
the
was throwing
chute?
100. Yeah, he was throwing 100 miles an hour. Yeah, it was. Well, I told the guys it was great because I told the guys, I said, hey, look, guys, everybody knew we were facing this guy throwing 100. There's some whispers going around, right? And I said, look, let's bring this out in the open. We're facing the guy throwing 100. Like, he's not going to hold his velo. Okay. He's just not. Like, he's not going to hold his velo throughout the whole game. We're going to wait him out. His slider is going to be just okay. And he's probably going to issue some walks. Okay. So let's just, we're all good. So he threw 6 innings against us, started out at 101, ended throwing 98, 99, sitting 98, 99 in the 6th inning. He issued one walk, right? And his slider was like 92, 93. And all the players were like, what the heck?
Yep.
What?
So I had a hard time with
Yeah.
scouting reports so
Yeah.
bad. I would just get so leery on scouting reports sometimes because it's like, okay, I'm telling them all this stuff and it might be completely different when we roll it out there.
Yeah, the guys were looking at us going like, what the heck? This isn't anything you told us it was going to be. And so he was really good. I mean, no surprise that he got drafted really high, and he was really good. But yeah, no, to answer your question, no, there wasn't a lot of panic. I mean, we'd already played 5 elimination games coming into the World Series. We had to play 2 against Cochise and then 3 over there in Salt Lake. And so we had 5 under our belt already. So it kind of felt normal to us. Now we knew what we were facing. We knew we had to win 5 games in 5 days against kind of like the who's who or the Mount Rushmore of junior college baseball, right? And so we knew what was ahead of us. But I don't know. We had a lot of guys that were older, so they had some experience, which I think you need. They had a lot of confidence, which you definitely need in elimination games. And we had some calm about us, right? And that comes with the experience. So I mean, just there wasn't a lot of panic. We treated it like game 7. So it wasn't like we weren't looking about like, hey, we got to win 5 in a row. Like we knew that was the case, but like, let's just beat San Jack. Let's find a way to beat San Jack. And then if we can do that, then like, hey, we get another shot at Crowder. Let's try to get those guys. And then, you just keep stacking and as the games went, you can feel the momentum, you can feel the confidence of the guys. I'm just proud as hell of those guys. I mean, they did a heck of a job.
Getting beat last year, does that help this year's team or does it matter because you're rolling guys over quicker at a 2-year school?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was in back of some of the guys' minds that were here, that returned, but we never talked about it because I never really want to put that pressure on the next team. I mean, it's just they had nothing to do with last year's game, and so it's like, hey, we're a new team, new personalities, new roster. Now, some of the guys who like Shane Spencer started the national championship game against McLennan and we lost. And he pitched great. I think he left. It was 2-1 and we ended up losing that game. And then, so he started this year's game too. So I know he personally wanted to win that one for sure. He was, he had some unfinished business just for his own personal, like he was like, hey, I can take 2 losses in 2 consecutive national championship games. So, but like as a team, we didn't talk about it much. And next year's team, we're not going to talk about this one very much because I just, it's like I said, it's just, we might lean on some of the experiences we had and those kind of things, but we're not going to, put the pressure on like, hey, like, it's national championship or bust. We're just going to try to compete like a national championship team every day in practice. And then hopefully you come out good on the other side.
And looking through your, I think 31 listed on the roster. You start in January. It's got to be a benefit being able to start that early, doesn't it? Especially from a pitching standpoint, to be able to start that early.
Yeah, well, there's pros and cons. I mean, like it's great that you get to start there early, but you better be ready. And so like, like so it's you're kind of crossing your fingers a little bit like over the break that guys are getting done what they're supposed to be doing. Now we check in with them a lot and but I mean, we're not with them over the break. And so, at the end of the fall, everybody's rolling, everybody's feeling pretty good. And then, they're gone for, a month or month and a half or whatever it is. And, and so you got to cross your fingers because when they in Arizona, when they come back, like it's go like
Yeah.
we play 15 days later and it's you got to be ready to go. And so but yeah, I mean, we're fortunate with the weather and it warms up pretty good here. I mean, it's going to be 75 degrees in February, so we're pretty lucky
And
there.
bringing a ton of northern teams down to play, correct? I mean, not a lot of travel for you guys early in the year, is there?
No, we go to Vegas. Southern Nevada puts on a tournament that we always go to. It's like a 5 hour drive for us. And other than that, yeah, I mean, most of the northern teams or the cold weather state teams, will come here and for their spring break and for their, non-conference. And so, yeah, we're fortunate that they come to us. Yeah,
When are you
usually
starting bullpens for your guys
for the fall or for the spring.
for the spring? So, I mean, obviously they're going to have to throw pens at home, right?
Yeah, yeah. So Coach Howie and myself put together a schedule for him. Coach Howie obviously takes the lead on that. So when our fall ends and in mid-November, November 15th is our last day, and then so from really the 15th, and we shut them down for a little bit. We give them a little no throw time, just take some time off your arm, and then over the break, yeah, we have a kind of a ramp up, if you will, back up over December and then start throwing pens. And then, when they come back, they're allowed to report back again January 10th. And so we take usually the first couple of weeks for shutdown, and then the next couple of weeks for ramp up, and then then they're back up, and then we scrimmage right away, and then we have 2 extra weeks of bullpens and stuff to get ready for that that game that we're going to play on. Usually our first opening game is like January 27th or 28th, whenever the last Friday in January is, and so yeah, so the guys are throwing pens over December, which is a challenge for some guys because some guys live where it snows or have to do it inside, and you have to find a catcher, and you have to, so I mean, there's some challenges, but I mean, if you're committed enough, I mean, we can figure that out.
When does the fall schedule start for you guys?
So our school this year starts August 22nd. We have a team meeting on the first day. I don't require anything of the guys before that. A lot of the guys are playing summer baseball and stuff right now. Gives them a little bit of a recharge. Get back August 22nd. And then I usually we have some team meetings and stuff like that. And the field's open for the guys to use, but we really don't start until the next Monday, the 29th. Because I give them that first week. I want them to do well in their classes and just get acclimated to school and get off, on a good foot in their classes and make sure they, know where they're at and the expectations in their classes and stuff like that. So try to not disturb them that first week. And then on the 29th, yeah, it's on.
Yeah, but I mean, going until mid-November, I mean, you've got time to get acclimated, and it's not as big a rush on trying to get everything in because you do have a longer time in the fall, which is a benefit for you guys.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, we're allowed 14 dates. It used to be 20 games, but now it's 14 dates. So I guess it could be 28 games now because you can play double headers or whatnot. But so it's you get 14 dates to play, and I mean we're fortunate here in Arizona because we get last year we got to play the Padres. We get to play. We played the Royals and the Rangers. Instructional league teams. Just because of the proximity. We played Team USA a couple years ago. They played, ASU, U of A, and Central, and before they went to go qualify in Mexico for the Olympics and stuff like that. And then we played Arizona State this last year. So I mean, we get and then we play a lot of their junior colleges and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just nice to be in this area, and you just afforded some more opportunities to play some pretty quality teams in the fall and really find out what you're all about. I mean, when you're playing teams like that, it's like, man, it exposes you pretty quick to like, oh man, we need some work in these areas. So yeah, we try to challenge our guys with the best teams we can find for sure.
Yeah, how much of a benefit is that being in Pro Ball Central down there in Arizona? I mean, you've got access to so many different people down in that area.
Yeah, well, it's nice for the guys on a scouting front because all the area scouts live here, the cross checkers, the GMs, the scouting directors, they all live right here because of spring training, and so and then we're also on this super highway of scouting between Phoenix and Tucson. We're right in the middle. So, as scouts and everyone's going to look at, ASU and U of A and they're going back and forth down the 10. I mean, it's an easy stop. We're right off the 10. And so we get scouted quite a bit. And then just it's nice to, have your former players who are in minor league baseball come out and talk to the team or take ground balls with the team when they're getting ready for spring training and stuff like that. Just those kind of, I don't know, cool opportunities for our guys to pick those guys' brains, or like, hey, this guy's in the big leagues right now and he's coming out and wants to throw a pen and everybody's watching, and just stuff like that where it's I don't know, it's just nice to be around those guys for sure, because they were in the same boat 3, 5, 7 years ago, and now they're where all our guys want to be, in the big leagues.
What's the message from those guys, the guys that have gone on to the next level, guys that are in the big leagues? What's the message? What do they usually talk about with the guys?
Work and prioritize your time, where it's just, I mean, I think especially in college, it's so easy to get distracted with just so many different things, like meeting people or your girlfriend or, hanging out with your buddies, or just, I want to play video games or whatever. And it's like, hey, if you really want to do this, this is what it takes at this level. And so, hey, if, school, baseball, and weights, if you prioritize those three things, there's plenty of time for everything else, but just make sure you get those three things done first. Not like you can't do any of those other things. Just get the things you're supposed to be doing done first. Get school, baseball, weights, get that done, and take care of that and be accountable for that. And then after that, hey, there's going to be some time. Yeah. Go hang out, meet some people. It's college, right? Have some fun and do those kind of things. But that's usually the message from those guys, because that's what they have to do now, man. They're working their butt off now all the time.
I try to tell that guys, I'm like, hey, the social aspect is going to be there. Like, that's not going away. So, like, you have a brief time to play. The social piece is going to be there. Whenever you're done playing, like, it's not going anywhere. That's been there forever.
Yeah. Well, have some discipline and some accountability to say no every once in a while. It doesn't mean you have to say no all the time. It's just like, hey guys, I can't do that. I got some homework to do. Or, hey, I haven't went down to hit extra yet. Like, hey, you know what? I might miss out on, an hour of whatever you guys are doing hanging out, but I'll be back there in an hour. I just got to get my hitting in or whatever, just have some accountability, just some discipline to say no
and pull yourself back when you need to. I think that's a big key to discipline. Like, it's okay. You may fall off every once in a while. Just be able to,
for sure,
to pull yourself back when you need to.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
I mean, what has NJCAA baseball meant to you?
A ton. I mean, it gave me my first opportunity to really coach. My first job was at a Division III, University of Puget Sound, which I'm forever indebted to. Brian Billings hired me and gave me my first, college coaching job. At the NJCAA and at Central Arizona, I just feel like this is when I was really introduced to just, I don't know, the recruiting and the scouting and the work and it's just so. I mean, I love that you're doing podcasts with NJCAA coaches and
some of the best we have. It is, and you're seeing guys. I'm just happy that we're seeing guys. If they do want that Division I opportunity, I'm just happy we're seeing guys get that opportunity now.
For sure, it's so undervalued and underrated. There's really good players, there's really good coaches, there's really good programs. It's a great brand of baseball. So I appreciate you and everyone who highlights junior college baseball, because it just seems it's such a great avenue. And I think, the misconception is that, it's only for people that have bad grades or, and that's just not the case.
Not the case.
And I mean, it's, like I said, a really good brand of baseball. And like I said, there's really good coaches, really good players and programs. And so it's just, it's fun to see, some guys get some opportunities like Mitch Thompson and Mark
yeah,
guys, getting some opportunities, well-deserved. And I mean, there's going to be countless others, that get those opportunities and a lot of other guys that went off and been great assistant coaches. So it's like I said, I just think it should be highlighted more and not only Central Arizona. I'm just being junior college baseball as a whole. I just think it's just anybody who has a chance to do one of these or speak about it or highlight it should take the opportunity to do it, because it's just I don't know, the message needs to get out a little more, I think.
And I've said that for you guys. You have to take 17, 18, 19 year olds and get them ready to go on to their next thing. And that's the key to for 4 year school as well. Not as much with the transfer portal now and what we're seeing, but you're still going to have to take those young guys and get them ready to compete. And you guys have to do that every year with your new guys.
Yeah, well, the turnover is incredible at junior
Yes.
college, right? I mean, you're losing half your team at minimum every year. So we had 31 guys on the roster. We lost 20 this year.
Yep.
So 20 guys are gone, and majority of those guys were sophomores, but a couple of them were freshmen that like got a great opportunity. Chase Valentine got a great opportunity to. He's a freshman, could have came back, but he's going to the University of Tennessee. I mean, that's pretty good, and so so it's just the turnover is incredible, and so for us as coaches, we all more important to continue to recruit, and you got to replace a lot of guys every year.
How'd you get to Santa Barbara City?
So my first year I played at Tacoma Community College in Washington, which is right kind of my local junior college.
Spencer Allen. That's Spencer Allen.
Yep. I know
Bears,
Spencer
East
really
Tacoma.
well. Yeah, and so and that's where I met a lot of people. I met Greg. Greg Spencer was my head coach there. Travis Jewett was in the area. I've known him my whole life. So on. So a lot of good people over there, I played there my freshman year, and then had an opportunity to go to Santa Barbara, and then I thought, man, what a cool place. Number one, but I kind of believed in just the direction it was going, and I just thought, man, this is gonna be a great opportunity for me to play and get challenged and kind of see what it's all about and see it's California college baseball. I mean, I felt like I was leveling up a hair and kind of see how I fit and see if I could get it done. And it's a great experience for me. And unfortunately, I got hurt at the very end of that year, and that was kind of the end. I took the next year off to try to rehab, and I don't know, the style of player I was didn't allow me to overcome that injury. I was a guy who had to work hard to be average, but like speed and defense was kind of my thing, and blew out my ankle and knee, and that was kind of the end of my speed and range. And no one ever really relied on me to hit too much. So so it was, but that's what led me into coaching. I thought I wanted to be a teacher, and I knew I wanted to impact people for sure and be around young people, and couldn't imagine doing a job. So I thought teaching was the natural profession, and then kind of fell into coaching, and then that quickly put a stop on teaching. I was like, man, okay, I got to figure out how to do this for a living.
Mine too.
Yeah, so it was great, and so it was. It was just awesome experience, and never had another job since.
Hey, offensive numbers all over the country have peaked up. I go to all the college championships. Do you think there's something that's attributed to that, or do you think hitters now are training and finally getting caught up, or is it just older hitters now? I mean, it could be a lot of different variables.
Yeah, I think just the level of baseball as a whole is going up. I think guys are throwing hard, guys are getting stronger, guys are swinging harder, guys have more powers number, they're faster. Like just the whole thing is leveling up, and I think that's a little bit because of COVID, right? There's older players, in people's programs. Also, there's better training. Obviously, the advancement just in training, the advancement in the tech too, where it's just, people have more information at their fingertips. So maybe they can diagnose what pitch is coming a little easier and those kind of things. And so I think all that is helping everybody. It's helping the pitchers, and it's helping the hitters, and just helping the game, really. I mean, the game's getting better and better. And, and so, yeah, I mean, I think, I don't think you can hang your hat just on one area that it's improving, but I think all those things are factors for sure that it's helping a lot of people.
What have you guys adjusted in training wise over the years? Because I think I agree with you. I think we're training better athletes now. So what have you guys adjusted training wise over the years?
Yeah, well, number one, we've educated ourselves. That's like we as coaches. I mean, especially at junior college, and we don't have a strength coach. Like the coaches are the strength coach, right? So like we got so Coach Perez and Coach Howie, JoJo does a great job with the pitchers. Coach Perez does a great job with the position players, because they're doing different things, right? Not everybody's doing the same thing. And some guys are trying to gain some weight. Some guys are trying to lose some weight. And there's some variables on, especially when we're in season, on, for the pitchers, when they throw and how hard we're working them. And same with the position players too. And, when we play and those kind of things. And so first we're trying to educate ourselves. two, we're okay with allowing them to train with, I know some people don't like to do that. Like, hey, no, it's our way or the highway. Like, hey, if you have an advanced trainer that you work with and you feel good about, like, that's okay. Like, like we're okay with that. Like our ego isn't big enough to like, if you feel like that's making you better and that's made you successful and makes your body feel good, like now there's going to be some requirements that we're making you do, right? And that we believe in. But if you want to do some things in addition to that, that's okay, and because in the end, we want what's best for you. We want the best version of you and try to help you. And if you think that's helping you and whatnot, then yeah, let's explore those avenues too. So I think some of that, and then just like I said, just being the guys seem to be in, like when I got here 15 years ago, it's way different than it is now as far as the interest from the players in training. I mean, those guys, like, they want to lift and then work out on the field and then go back and lift again. And, they just more interested in it, and they're just more attuned to their bodies, I think, and I think that's just because all the information that's coming out, it's just, you can just tell like it's more important to everybody, coaches, professional programs, college programs, and it's trickling down to the players too.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle for the coaches now too.
Yep.
I think we have so many more coaches that are training and continuing to train that want to be healthy longer in life, longevity. I just think it trickles down to your players.
For sure. For sure. It's tricky. I mean, it's because especially as a junior college coach, there's so much. We're doing it all, right? Like, so we're the strength coach, we're the academic advisor, we're the equipment manager, we're the travel agent, we're the, oh yeah, and by the way, we're the baseball coach too, and so so it's you try to, like, at the 4-year levels, you have specialists for all that. Like, hey, oh, you have trouble with your homework, like go see this guy, or hey, you have a question on your lifting, go see that guy. It's like, so we got to be kind of versed in all that stuff a little bit. And so and we don't take that lightly. We got to, train ourselves, and we don't want to give bad information to our guys. And so, we're trying to learn and stay up with the times and get ahead of the times if we can. And I don't know, just keep learning, in all those areas for sure.
You've had elite defenses too. I mean, do you feel like you do something different in practice, or is it recruiting, development piece of that with good defense?
All of the above. Yeah. I mean, we try to recruit. Defense is important to us. I mean, we're a wood bat league, played a big yard. And so, we don't want to really give extra outs and those kind of things. And so, so that's number one. We put a high precedent on it, high precedent, like on our catch play, which is one thing that, I don't know, maybe that we do different than other programs. I mean, we talk about our catch play. We're on our guys for a catch play. It's not just like, hey, go throw to 90 feet and let's start practicing. Like we put a high precedent on our catch play. Coach Perez has our infielders in particular throwing a lot, like to bases. So it very rarely is it, shag and bag, right? Like we call it, like, field it or, just field and drop, mostly it's we're rolling double plays or we're throwing to bases. And so they get a lot of reps throwing. Catchers kind of do the same thing. And so, we have a couple different ways that we warm up too. We actually have 3 different styles of warm up. So we have a position specific warm up, which is like 4 corners and those kind of things. And we even do that for the catchers, like a 4 corner position specific drill. So they might be rolling a bunt out in front of them, throwing it to first as part of their warm up, or throwing to bases or back picking to bases, and infielders are doing moves that, rolling double plays and doing moves, throwing balls on the run that they would do specific to them. And outfielders are doing the same thing. And so that's one way. We have a long toss where we're kind of airing it out, trying to get some length. As we're coming in, depending on how their arm feels, we're pulling down a little bit. And then we have kind of just a recovery day where it's just kind of more of a standard, like, hey, we're just playing catch, like we're laying off your arms a little today. We might only get it out to 120 but we're going to, we're still playing catch. It's important to, we're hitting our target, we're moving our feet, all those kind of things. And coaches are out there with them during that time, because we feel like the catch play is practice time. It's not just like, hey, get loose for practice. No, that practice has already started, and so I don't know. That's one.
You go watch a team practice. If they have good catch play, they're gonna play defense at a high level.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, nothing drives me more nuts than like a guy who gets the ball in his glove and then throws it away. It's like, man, you've already done the hard part. Like, man, you got it in your glove, just, throw it over there. And so with that though, we need to practice that. We can't just say, hey, you need to throw it to first. We got to work on throwing it to first, and so, like I said, Coach Perez does an unbelievable job with the infielders. He's a great coach and does that. And like I said, so in our defense, and we do a lot of drills, a lot of team stuff that like, the defense is what we're working on. Because I mean, everybody's going to get jacked for their BP, right? And everybody's jacked for their bullpens and like, and stuff like that. And like, hey, we're inter squad and like but like, those like we try to, share the belief with the players about, hey, like the base running is really important. The defense is really important. And we put a little higher emphasis on those because we already know that they think the BP is important. Right. And so those other areas, we try to, share the importance to it. And I think our guys believe in it, and we really celebrate it when we play good defense or clean defense and point it out and celebrate the catchers if they have a great day, or the infield or the outfield or whoever, so it's like, it's funny, Ryan, like as a coach, if you think back to your teams, and we ask this to ourselves all the time and we're always scratching our head, but it's like, when we think of like pickoff attempts, like in the course of a whole season, do you pick more guys off or do you throw more away on pickoff? And like, I'm not sure the answer. I'm still not sure the answer, and I ask people that all the time and they're like, let me think about it. I don't know. Like, do you you pick a guy off and it goes into, gets by him, the guy gets the second or third, or do we actually?
That's why picks were part of our throwing program for our pitchers. Because I just was like, hey, if the only time they're ever really doing this is in games, so that was part of flat grounds, is they would work on their pickoffs. They do it in the bullpen. Like we spent time on that stuff because would drive me nuts because you can control that. You can, if you work on it, you're going to get better at it.
Yeah. And so like, you think of like first and second base. So like, just, launching a ball into center field and, great. Now they, it's guys on third or whatever, and so it's, so we do the same. We try to spend a lot of time and we try to get on the game mound a lot too. We do them in flat grounds and in our bullpens, we try to just so they can feel the slope of the mound and like, and just, I don't know, try to make it as game light as possible.
How long does it take your new position players to get acclimated to the volume? I think that's the huge difference from wherever they came from to a new place, is the volume of throwing. How long does it take your new guys to get acclimated?
Yeah, the things that we see that guys aren't prepared for are the volume of throwing is one. Yep. Like, so we get some sore arms from position players early, like, oh man, I'm a little sore. Like, just, man, we're throwing a lot or doing cuts and relays or whatever. And hamstrings, like, just like, man, we're running more than I thought. Like, just like, and running the bases, making the turns, because it's different than like, working out on a track or something like that. And so those are the two things. So we try to get in front of that by when we send out our workout plan before the guys get here, like, hey, these are things to be prepped for. So when you come, what to expect. It seems like the guys who are from warm weather states have less of a transition because they've played more, but the cold weather state guys or the international guys, the volume of baseball and the amount of games and reps are like blowing their mind a little bit. And so, we try to just get out in front of it and tell them ahead of time, like, hey, this is gonna, we're not, in Australia, they play once a week, like they play once a week, maybe one practice a week and that's it. And so I was like, no, man, we're doing it every day, so like, you better start playing catch and hitting every day and just, to get rolling. And so, we try to get out in front of it. But usually the cold weather states, just because they're not outside as much. And then the international guys, especially the Australians, it's just, you don't play as much, it's you practice once a week and play once a week and you go on to the next week, and so.
And position players doing prehab stuff, J-bands, any plyo throws to get ready to throw?
Yeah, we do J-bands every day for our position players too. And so, we do a pre, and then we have an optional post. The pitchers are doing those.
Yes, but I was the same way. It made sense. Like if it's keeping their arms healthy, probably just as benefit or even more beneficial for the position players.
Yeah, so they're doing all those. The pitchers are doing all that. The position players, we do, right out immediately after stretch, we do our base running. So we stretch, go into our base running. We have a circuit, which is about 15, 20 minutes. of base running, and it's different stuff. Maybe it's steel breaks, maybe it's we're working on trail runner, reading the throw, where the throw's going, or all endurance, or whatever it is. Like something that we need to work on, and our body should be warm after we stretched out, and so we do that. Then we immediately go into our BAMs, and so we do and while we're doing base running, the pitchers are doing the BAMs. And so usually they're done with that and they start their throwing progression and what they're doing for the day. And then we come over and use the BAMs and it's short, but it's it's not as long as the pitchers one. But I'm a believer in it. Like you said, I mean, those pitchers, their arms are their livelihood. So if it's good enough for them, it should be good enough for the position players too. And we kind of have an optional post band, which, to be honest, we probably should make it mandatory, a post band, because I think that's almost equally as valuable.
The cool down. For me, it's the cool down too. So warm up and the cool
and
down.
So ours is kind of optional, which is something that maybe we should evaluate and make it more mandatory for the position players.
How are you working on backside trail guys? So reading the throw. So do you have outfielders out there doing it? How are you doing that?
Yeah, so we've had a couple different ways we've tried it. So yeah, we'll have, for example, maybe we'll have a guy at first, half the guys at first, half the guys at home, right? And so we have like a mock pitcher, coach on the mound, Coach Overman on the mound, gives a look, shuffle, guy takes a swing, right? And it's mandatory. We're going first to third, no matter what. And then the trail runner, the hitter, he's reading the throw. And so so it's either going to be either a guy who's injured out there, like maybe he can't do the drill, so he's throwing, a coach out there, or sometimes Coach Perez, he's good with that fungo. So like sometimes he'll just fungo a ball in there, and you have that read. We have a cutoff guy, and so and we're reading the trajectory of the throw. Is our main thing we're reading, and we're reading the infielder's feet. So like if we see a low throw, then our eyes immediately go to the infielder's feet, and that tells us if it's way offline. Maybe he's sprinting, it's way offline or something like that. But typically, if it's a low throw, we got to hold, and that again, that's a teaching point to our outfielders. Like low throws, hold the trail runner, and so so that's one way we'll do it. Or down second, we'll do the same thing. Because I just get jacked on trail runners. Like I love it. Like, and you put the guys to a test, like in the scenario I just gave you, like if we're going hard, corner to corner, both guys have to go hard. If they don't go hard, it doesn't work, right? Both guys are going hard, and you put the defense to a decision. Are we going to throw out the trail or the trail runner? Okay, then we're just going to stop. We got first and third. We're rolling, right? You're going to throw out the lead runner. Man, like if you don't get them, we got second and third. Now we got a big inning. Worst case scenario, they throw a dime and they get us. Okay, we still got a guy on second base. We rolled the dice and took a great throw to get us. And so you just put those guys at some tests. Like, okay, I better feel it clean. I better throw a strike. I better do I even want to do this? Do I just throw it to second? Half their dugouts yelling 2, half of it yelling 3. And so. So we work on, that's like one drill that we'll do. We put guys on second or on first, but yeah, I get fired up. It's funny. The guys always joke with me like, man, you love trail runners. I said, I love trail runners. So
extra 90s makes a huge difference. We used to spend a lot of time with relay guy too, like reading the outfielder's feet. So that was one of the things that was an adjustment for our new players, is they didn't really think about it because the backside guy. So say it's in right field. If he's running towards the shortstop's going to back up, and then whenever the outfielder catches it, they're going to stop. But what happens usually is the guy he'll be lazy, so he won't back up enough, so it gives the backside guy a lot longer read on whether the ball's past the relay guy or not. So we spent a lot of time with our corner infielders and our middle infielders as far as reading the outfielder's feet. If they're going out, you got to go out with them. But if they got to back up, they're going to back up with them just to keep the backside guy, because it's the longer look, they have to make a decision on whether it's past the relay guy or not. Usually they stay at home.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the deeper you are, the better it is. And then those infielders, we want our guys to give a deke at all times. If they don't get it, just to try to hold that runner a little bit, because as much as I love trail runners on offense, I can't stand it when we're on defense. If we give a trail runner, it's like, so. So it's so we talk about that a lot, and I think that's, like I said, that's just kind of winning baseball. I mean, that stuff doesn't show up in a box score or anything like that. It's just like, we talk about in our program winning the tie, and so what that means is you look at a scoreboard at the end of the game, and each team has 9 hits, each team has 1 error, each team left 6 guys on base, right? Each team walked 3. And struck out 8 or whatever, right? But the score was 5-4. Like, why is that? Right? Like somebody won some other little battle in there that doesn't show up on the normal stuff. And it's like, and so we want to win those games because like the games we win 10-1, we're going to win. Right. Or a game we get blown out, it wasn't our day or whatever, but those tight ones, like, it might just be keeping a ball off the backstop. It might be a ball and dirt read. It might be a trail runner that we cut down or that we got on the offensive side that like, won us the game. We win 5-4 and we're going home and somebody else is turning in their uniforms. Right. It's just because we were able to win that tie somehow. Like, how do we do it? So those are the games that, and that's kind of the verbiage we use. Like, hey, win the tie. Find a way to win the tie. To the scoreboard. Everything's the same except the score. And those are the games we want to win.
Do you have a fail forward moment? Do you have something you thought was going to sidetrack you, but looking back now is one of the best things that happened to you?
I don't know. Like on this year's team,
just personally, professionally, coaching, anything that.
I hate to say those, the 4 losses because I never say like, oh, like losing's good for you. Sometimes like, I don't know. I never really like that because it's like, I don't want to lose. Right. But I mean, it does, I think it helps you hit the reset button. So on this year in particular, I think it like opened our eyes to, it just exposed us to what our strength was. Like we thought we knew, and that confirmed it. Like, yep, if we're a little sloppy, we're opening the door to get beat. If we're clean, man, we're pretty good, And so, so for that, it was, that was kind of,
I think there's always a time for teams that win the national championship during the year where they're going to struggle. And well, look at Tennessee as an example. I don't think Tennessee struggled the entire year, and then they get beat in the Supers, which nobody thought. Everybody had them teed up to win the national championship, but they had never really faced any adversity up to that point. And so I think it helps teams sometimes to face a little bit of that in the middle of the year, to take a little bit of the pressure off too. Like, okay, we are infallible, but let's get back to it.
Yeah, I mean, the more things you can expose your team to before the season's on the line, the better.
Yeah.
And so like, even though that's why we try to make every game 7 but like, yeah, just like there's a million different ways to win. We just need to find one. Right. So like, we got to learn to win those 14 to 12 games, even though that's not how we're built, but we also got to win the 1-0 games. We got to win the ones where, hey, it's raining today, guys. It never rains in Arizona. We got to figure out a way to win this one, or like whatever it is, like, hey, it's cold or it's hot or it's, just all those different things. Cause like something unexpected may get thrown at you when you least expect it. And that's what I think like creates the calm. Like, oh, we've done this before, or we've faced this before, or like, opposed to like, oh crap, like what do we do now? And like we have 2 hours to fix it before our season's over, and so so we try to like I said, try to expose them to as much as that as we can, and celebrate it when we do it, and point it out like, hey, today wasn't an easy day to win a game, or hey, we got beat and here's some reasons why, and try to correct that for next time. And so for us, it just, like I said, the more that we can expose and have them ready. I mean, that's my job. That's our coaching staff's job, to prepare them for as much as possible. If they're not prepared for something when it counts, that's on me. That's on me. Like, shame on me for not getting them ready. Like I got exposed there, and so I don't like to feel that way. I want to have those guys prepared. And if we lose a game, it's just because we got beat. It's not because like we weren't ready, or man, we didn't see something coming, or like, just like, hey, we're facing Logan Henderson, guys. It's tough. Like he got us, man. He's pretty good. He got us, and so, or Mizorowski or whatever, it's just, sometimes you just tip your cap and say, man, that guy's pretty good, and so, but yeah, so I mean, I think that's our job to prep the guys to be ready, and then it's their job to work, right? Like, I mean, here's the blueprint. We got to go execute it now. And so, they got to work, and so.
Are you coaching third base? You coach from the dugout?
I coach third base. Yep.
Still do it.
Yeah. It was funny because 1 year I gave up third base, and it was in 2019, and we won a national championship. As coach third base, so he never let me live that one down. He said, "Hey, I got fired from coaching third base, like after we won the title." And so, but he, after that year, he became our hitting coach. And so, we decided, and really he decided he wanted to be in the dugout with the guys as the hitting coach. And so I went back to the third base box, and so it really makes it's easier because of Coach Perez having him in the dugout. Like, I'd be a little less willing to go in the third base box. But I mean, he does a great job. We're on the same page, and so it's easier to like, talk with him maybe before the inning and say, hey, these are some things that we're thinking. Maybe in this spot, let's get this guy, stretching out or swinging a bat or whatever, and then we just kind of have some eye contact and say let's do it. So there's not a lot of like, wait, what, like which guy, who, what number, like, and so we kind of prepare for that, before the game, and then really even before the inning, like, okay, hey, we can maybe forecast the sixth hitter of the inning might be a guy we're going to hit for, and if it's an RBI spot, let's get so and so ready, and or if it's a bunt spot or whatever it is, and then if it doesn't come up, it doesn't come up.
How are those conversations for your assistants with the hitters? I mean, are they talking much to those guys during the game? I mean, is it mechanical? Is it approach? Like, what are they talking with the hitters about?
Yeah, mostly approach. I mean, the mechanics, it's a little tricky to do in game, and so, but Coach Perez wants to do the chart, which I was like, you sure you don't want to have a player do it? And he's like, no, I want to do it because I want to relay the information, and it just made sense. Like for years, we had the players do it, and I was like, you really want to do a chart in the game? He's like, oh yeah. And so he's doing the chart, he's doing the pitch chart. And so he's got all the information right there. And he's kind of standing as guys, coming to like the on deck circle. He's kind of, having a little small conversation with them, of like, and then he's also, him and I are on a pretty good page together. We've been around each other now for a while. And so, he'll say, hey, like he knows me pretty well. So it'll be like, hey, we may hit and run maybe in play here. So, get your eyes up for hit and run or, whatever it may be. And so, he does a good job, but I think what he does a good job too is just laying off them where it's not an over, like, there's a lot of time there's nothing to say. Like you'll get them, like you're
That's
already
the best ones. They know when not to say anything.
yeah. And so he does a good job, and so I'm not in there with him while he's doing that, but I kind of see what's going on and then have conversations with him. And then Coach Howie with our pitching does the same thing. I mean, as our pitcher comes off the mound and there's a couple teaching moments, or sometimes it's like, hey, just let that guy be, just let him, he's rolling and whatever, or hey, we need to figure out what's working or how it's feeling, or those kind of things. And so, so yeah, both those guys do a great job of just communicating in game, before the game, just the whole prep. And because I think there's adjustments you can make and prep before the game, but then also in game adjustments, and they do a good job of both, which help you win games, help you win that tie.
Along your journey, what was the best advice you ever got from somebody?
I don't know. The guy that I mean, my dad was always the guy that I always really leaned on. I never really felt like I had a mentor in baseball, which a lot of people, which I'm kind of jealous of, to be honest. Like a lot of people, say, oh man, I leaned on this guy or that guy, or I grew up and I coached. I never really had like that one, like mentor that I still have that like, but my dad, the great thing about my dad was like, he's such a great sounding board, which, most dads are, right? But he wasn't afraid to tell me the truth either, which I appreciate so much. He just like call me out on some BS if like he's like, he'd always call me Aunt. He was like, Aunt, like, come on, and I was like, okay, like he wouldn't let the stuff slide, and so
What'd your dad do for a living?
he was a commercial fisherman. He's passed away
Oh
now. He
wow,
passed years ago, but he's a commercial fisherman.
that's
So
a
he's
hard living.
yeah, just so like, I mean, it basically he did, the best way to describe it is, you think of like deadliest catch, but for
Yeah.
salmon, not crab.
Yep.
And so that's what he did. Right. And that's what my grandfather did and my great grandfather. So me and my brother are the first people in our family to break the chain of being a commercial fisherman. And I mean, it is a blue collar, hard work, lifestyle. And
I had a
I
friend
learned,
from Evansville that would go do that in the off season. He lived with us, but that he would go for 4 or 5 months and work on the boats and then come back. He'd have all this money, but you're just wondering if no cell phones. You're wondering if he's even going to come back from Alaska.
yeah, it was scary. I mean, my dad missed a lot of the stuff in the summer and when I'd play summer baseball and stuff growing up. And it was just like, but I don't know, he's just a great sounding board, like he saw all these things from like a different lens that I could really appreciate. He didn't have like one, quote that he always give me or something like that, but like, just, I don't know, like it just, he was just real honest with me, and didn't always tell me the things I wanted to hear, and just gave me the truth. And even, he like, I don't think I ever played and or coached a game without talking to him after the game. Like he would call me after a game and say, hey, I saw you, like beat so-and-so, like, and he'd be like, why are you playing Morgan? I was like, Dad, you don't even know who Morgan is, like, or whatever, and like, and he's like, oh, but I like his, he's got good stats or whatever, and stuff like that. So it's just, it was great, and so, yeah, I mean, we lost him a couple years ago, which was tough. And I lost my mom in the fall. And so,
Sorry about that. That's
yeah, yeah. So, but it's, so it's just, I think my dad, like, baseball wise, was always just like I said, I mean, I guess if you had to call it a mentor, I guess, but like, I didn't have really someone in the industry that, like, like, hey, here's the blueprint to how to be a coach. Like I'm just figuring it out as I go currently, and just like, I never really, like I said, just never had like, hey, this is who you call, this is how you do it. I mean, even when I started out, I mean, I was like, I'm going to coach. And so I called my very first call. I was fresh out of college. I called Ken Knutson at University of Washington, Snake, right? And he had recruited me a little bit, out of high school. I did end up going to University of Washington. I wasn't good enough to go there. And so I called him and I said, hey, Ken, man, I want to, I want to coach for you. And he was like, he like, he's like, I was like, and just to let you know, like, I'll do it for free. And he was like, nah, and I was like, oh, this is going to be harder than I thought,
that's a
So,
fail forward moment. Honestly,
yeah,
that right there, you call a
yeah.
guy for a job and you get told no, and then look
Yeah.
up now, you've won 2 national championships and almost won a
Well,
third in three
it's
years.
funny because, well, it's funny because, like, he said no, and then I thought, like, oh well, shoot, I didn't even tell him I'd do it for free. And then I told him, he's like, no, he still said, oh man, like, this is going to be a lot harder than I thought. I was like, okay, what do I do now? And so, like, but yeah, I didn't really have somebody to guide me through that, or even like call on my behalf, or like, I don't know, I felt like I just had to figure it out, and to be honest, I think, like, in coaching and in any leadership position, like, your ability to solve problems is like one of your biggest strengths, whether it's business, you're a CEO or leadership or coach or whatever. Like, I mean, that's a big part of my day every day. It's like, I'll get to work and there's 4 new problems and I got to figure it out, and then get to my to-do list right after that. And like, and I just think, people who have the ability to do that, are more successful, and no matter what they're doing.
Yeah, a lot of gray area. I mean, did you lean on
For
any
sure.
resources back then? I mean, you don't have people necessarily. What were some things that you were diving into, or are you just going on the fly with it?
Both. I was,
Love
I
it.
was learning on the fly, where I was learning through failure, really. Like, my very first job, I was like, hey, I want to be the recruiting coordinator and third base coach. And Coach Billings said, okay, you got it. And I was like, oh crap, like, I don't know how to do either, like.
Be
And
careful
so,
what you wish for.
yeah, I was like, okay, I got to figure this thing out. And like, so, it was kind of trial and error, so that was number one. And then number two is like, I don't know. And I still, to this day, like, I just kind of wear people out. Like I make a lot of calls and ask a lot of questions, and like, want to continue to learn. Like, I made a promise to myself when I became a head coach that, like, and I should have done this earlier, but like, every summer I'll pick out an area somewhere I think I need to improve. And that's all I focus on for the whole summer. So like last summer, for example, was like, I thought, like, how to manage a bullpen, and not really like, who to throw, but like, that's where a head coach really makes his money on, like, do I let the guy ride it out? Do I make the move? What happens from the inning one to the guy putting his spikes on to the warm up in the bullpen to going to compete on the mound? What is that process like? And I felt like I needed to get a little better on that, so I didn't speed guys up or like rush them, or like, how do I know when a guy's prepared? And so, like, last summer, that's all I really focused on, and it really helped me in this year. And then this year, I'm focusing on catching. Like, I work with our catchers. Catching, I was an infielder, so catching wasn't my trade. And so, like, I feel like that's an area I need to get better at. I'm picking a lot of guys' brains that I feel like are good catching guys, and trying to, listen and learn. And next summer will be something different.
Love it. With the bullpen piece, how are you relaying it? Because you're going to have guys that have never thrown out of the bullpen before. How are you relaying to them, like, this is when you're actually ready to go into a game where you can tip your hat and say, hey, I'm ready to come in?
Yeah, yeah. So we have 3 levels, and so we have 1, 2, and 3. And that allows me to slow guys down sometimes, because some guys are like, I'm hot. And I'm like, I didn't even tell you to get hot. Like, what are we doing? And like, or like, wait, what? Like, I'm like, you ready? And you're like, I haven't even started throwing. Like, so just to avoid all those, like, just panic, like, oh man, it's falling apart in the 7th inning. We need you going quick. So we have, so level 1 is anything non-throwing, and it's individual to the guy. So Some guys like to do their bands during that time. Some guys just are strictly stretched out or in the foam roller or doing the body blade or and even like the balls, like the plyo balls, like that's a non-throwing. Like if they want to do that, some guys are doing some sprints. Some guys are just getting their body going. So that's one. You can never really be in a one too long. So I try to be proactive on one. Like the minute I start thinking about something, like, hey, Ryan, go get to a one. And so then they go down, they go to the bullpen, and then they're stretching out and they're doing everything they need until they're fully stretched. We have two, so I'll give a sign for a two, which for us, I just hold up my hand. Like, so there's no sign for one because they're in the dugout. So just go get to a one. Sign for two, I just hold my hand up. I have a bullpen coach down there too, which is a red shirt, which is a huge responsibility.
Yeah,
and
it is.
Red shirt knows it. And we had Cam Demos this year, and he's probably the best bullpen guy I've ever had. He was so locked in.
It's a
and
future coach.
Yeah, it is. And that's what I try to pick, to be honest.
It's a future coach.
And so I flash them, they flash me back. So I know they got the sign. And two is just playing catch. So you're playing catch with the catcher. If we have the ability to air it out, they can, like if they have a, area where, hey, we can go long and we need to go long, but it's not thrown off a mound yet. It's just, we're playing catch, we're getting loose. And then three, we just roll our hands. Three, Cam or the bullpen coach rolls it back. And then that means you're throwing off a mound with intent. You're about, get ready to go in the game. And that shouldn't take very long. If you've already been to a full one, a full two, really the three shouldn't take too long, but that's the one I'm most leery of because I don't want to get some guy to a three and then 3 innings later put them in if I can help it. Right. I want to, like, when they get hot, they're probably going in or they're not going to go in. Like, hey, we missed your spot. You're shut down now. Like, what I don't want is you got hot and then an hour later you go into the game. And so, or you're hot for that long. And so, and then once they're hot, I mean, you got to remember you get 8 pitches on the mound too. But once they're hot, I'm a big believer in not overdoing it in the bullpen. I try to tell our guys, hey, once you're hot, every pitch you throw in the pen is one less you're going to throw in the game.
Yep.
So like,
one for two, one for three, try to slow it down at that point.
I almost do like one, like almost per hitter, like even like not 1-to-1, like pitch 1-to-2 pitch, maybe even like one a hitter. Now, if you need a little bit more, go for it, but like if you're actually to a full 3, you're full, you're ready to go. You really don't need that much more. I mean, you're ready to go in right then. And so then it's just like, okay, hitter, I might, throw a, fastball, or, hey, Gilich told me that I'm going to, rip off some breaking balls to this hitter or something like that. So maybe you're throwing a couple extra breaking balls or whatever it is. And
that's what we always tried to do too. Like, hey, we're thinking you're going to come in and face this guy. Here's the type of hitter he is. So at least they had some information when they got down there and how they were going to attack the guy coming in. How often are you bringing guys in with traffic on the bases?
I think that's one of the things that I learned last summer, that you need to identify which guys are good at, because there's some guys that give up all the runs and then they have a 0 ERA because none of the runs were there, but they gave up
the vultures. And
so and then some guys just, they're built for getting those outs. And so I think that's one thing that you need to identify, and you need to, so we try to do that in the fall. We try to put guys in with guys on base instead of clean innings all the time, just to see how certain guys react different ways. Some guys like, man, he's a really good pitcher, but he stinks when guys are on base. Clean inning, he rolls, and so, so we try to identify that in advance the best we can. So I would prefer to avoid it, but, but of course.
Yeah, sometimes the game dictates that guy is in there is done, and you have to get the next guy in there. Or it's a better matchup.
Or you have a
better matchup.
Yep, all that kind of stuff. So it's just like, hey, we got left on left, or we got, this guy really struggles with a changeup, and we got our best changeup guy in the pen, or whatever it is, And so, we have all those guys. And so, but we try to talk about that beforehand. So the guys are prepped a little bit before the game. And so, we can kind of see, they like you said, they have an idea at least of like the situation they might go into. Now, the game is crazy game. So, hey, remember everything I just told you? You're going in late in the game. It's the 3rd inning. We need you. Like, let's go. So, so sometimes that happens. But, we try to prep those guys best we can. But, it's an interesting thing that for sure those guys clean innings versus with some traffic.
I think about it all the time because people are built differently, and some can handle it and some can't. And there's nothing worse for a starter who's had a good outing and guy comes in and gives up a bunch of runs, ties it up,
Yeah.
and so it's not good for
Yeah.
team chemistry. I mean,
The,
guys can handle it, but
the two things that I look at for guys that I feel like that are good when in traffic are swing and miss. If guys that have swing and miss typically don't give up those runs, right? Or even if they're like a swing and miss and maybe a high walk guy, like no big deal. Like you walk a guy where you're out of there, we'll just get somebody else in there, right? Like we're rolling the dice, so you can get the swing and miss. And then mindset, like guys that just like love to compete. You know, maybe you have really good stuff, but like, like that those moments overwhelm you a little bit. So like just guys that like to compete, that aren't afraid, competitive kids, and then swing and miss. Now there's some exceptions, obviously, maybe if you need a double play ball and stuff like that. But like, I mean, because usually you're bringing a guy in with traffic, like it's a big moment in the game, and those are the games that swing the games one way or another. Hey, we get up a 4 spot there, or we got out of there with a 0, or 1. Like we win that game, and so and that's kind of what I was trying to do some research on last year because I was like, as a head coach, that's how I feel like I can impact the game the most.
yes,
Like even more so than like, hey, like signs, at third base, like whether we're bunt or hit and run, like those decisions, those like 1 or 2 decisions a game those are it.
and
Those are
guys
those.
that can pinch hit late. And the other intriguing thing with pitchers with relievers is a guy maybe come in, get out of traffic, but can he go sit down for 10 minutes, 15 minutes and come back out and be fine the next inning too. Like that's always the fascinating thing as well with relievers is some guys are good to clean it up, but then they're good and you got to give it to somebody else.
Yep. We had a guy like that last year, 2 years ago in 2021. Like he was a freight train, but once you stop the train, he had a tough time getting it going again, And so he was good for 1 inning, like, and that was it, or 1/3 of it, and whatever ended the inning, and then but sending him back out was never as good, and it took us a while to figure that out. So, but I mean, he just was so intense and so fired up, and like,
He
and
emptied the tank,
he
emptied the
emptied it.
tank.
And so once he sat down and got a drink of water, he was done. Like that was it, And so, so yeah, I don't know, like, I think that comes with communication with your players, with your coaches, and you kind of identify those things so you don't fall into that trap of like, hey, like run into the same problems all the time. And why can't this guy get out of a second inning or whatever? You just identify guys' strengths and try to, put them in positions to succeed.
You doing that come out of the fall with them? I mean, are those some of the post fall meetings that you're having with guys on what they feel about themselves?
Yeah, we're real honest with the guys at the end of the fall, and like, I mean, I don't know why you would do anything else other than be honest. That's your team, right? And like, it might not be what they want to hear, but it's going to be the truth, and it's like, and it's an open dialogue. So they have, like, hey, let me, you have some different thoughts. Tell me about it, like, because maybe there's opens my eyes to some things that I haven't thought about, and like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, like maybe you would be better in just 1 inning, or or hey, this is the reason we need to extend you out, or whatever it is, and so. So yeah, we're like the lines of communication I would say are very high here at Central, and that's by design. We want
That's a
guys
common theme with national championship programs is communication is extremely high.
yeah, it has to be because like I said, I want guys to like, and we have 20 guys going off to 4-year schools right now for next year. And I want those guys, like when the next coach asks them like, hey, why do you do this or that? I don't want the answer to be like, I don't know, like
Deer in headlights.
that way. I want to be like, oh, because of, and they can explain it like, hey, this is what we're doing and why we're doing it. And so, yeah. And just, and like I said, it might not be the answer they want to hear. It might be like, hey man, you're really struggling with this, but the follow-up is this is how we're going to fix it, or here's how we're going to attack it, or here's what you need to work on. Let's get after it. And let's set our sights for a week down the road or a month down the road where we can maybe correct this bad habit, or, fix this mechanic or this mindset or whatever it is. And just get better, and if we're doing that, then like as a team, we're probably gonna win some games.
What are some final thoughts or something I should have asked you that I didn't?
Um, I mean, yeah, this is your show.
No, this is the guest show. I know I'm the host, but this is the guest show.
No, like I said, I mean, I'm just thankful that somebody's highlighting junior college baseball. It doesn't even necessarily have to be Central Arizona. I mean, I'm certainly appreciative of that, but like, just junior college baseball again. I mean, there's so many good programs. It's such a good route. Like I said, it gets this like JUCO bandit route or bad grade route, and I don't think I think that's selling it short, really. And so it's just, I mean, there's a lot of good kids, a lot of good students, a lot of good players, a lot of people that have turned down Division 1s and they chose to come here. It's not like they have to come here, and I don't know, I think it's just a great level of baseball, high level of baseball, and I'm so thankful to be a part of it. And so, yes, I appreciate you and everyone just highlighting it. And if I ever get a chance to, go on any of these or answer any questions and those kind of things, I try to do my part to give back to junior college baseball because it's certainly given a lot to me.
Yeah. Thanks for your time. Fall ball's going to be here before you know it.
I know, I can't believe it. My kids start school in like a week. Like in July. How's that possible? Like what do we do in Arizona? Why are we starting school in July? So yeah, he's going back to school and shoot. So we got a week left to hang out with him, and then yeah, it's kind of go time after that.
Enjoy it. It goes fast.
Yep. I appreciate it. Thank you.